I'm 27 years old, and in that short amount of time, I've built my online business to over $1 million a year. I've built my own personal net worth to over $1.5 million. I drive a ridiculous car for a 27-year-old. I live in a house that I own. My fiance and I get to lie down flat on planes whenever we go traveling, and I've built a business that gives me freedom and flexibility to wake up every single morning and do whatever I want. Obviously within reason, I wake up every single day and try to do the things that are going to grow my business, but I have the flexibility and autonomy to choose what I work on, where I work on it, and how often I work. And that's something that I don't think many 27-year-olds have the opportunity to say. And although life still has its ups and downs, I still have my challenges, I still have things I struggle with every single day. I have to admit that if I had have written down what I would have described as my dream life 8 years ago when I first quit my job, when I first decided to chase after what I have today, it would have looked a lot like what I'm living now. And so, as wild as it is to describe, I genuinely think I'm living what I would have described back then as my dream life. And there are 11 unconventional rules that I've lived by during that time. Some that I've lived by from day one, some that I've collected along the way, and some that I've only just discovered recently that I think have genuinely contributed to me being able to build this dream life. And in this video, I want to share those 11 unconventional rules with you. Rule number 1 is unless they've achieved what you want to achieve, do not listen to what they say. Every single person you know, every single person in your life will give you advice. Your friends, your family, the people you work with, all of them will be happy to give their 2 cents. And some of it has the potential to throw you off course. I remember having friends when I first started my business convincing me that I should do certain things in a certain way, even though they have zero experience running that kind of business, let alone running a business at all. And a lot of that advice, whether it be the advice from people telling me that I should stop making videos talking to camera because it was a little bit cringy, or the advice to start doing this in a certain way because it would be less embarrassing for them, or run my business in a particular way because they think that'll get them more clients, or invest my money in a particular way because that's what they've heard from their parents and their parents before them. There will always be advice from people in your life. And one of the easiest ways to create a distinction between the advice you should listen to and the advice you should comfortably ignore is whether that person has achieved what you want to achieve. And I know that can sound a little confronting. I know it can be hard to look at your parents and go, they may not be the best people to listen to when it comes to where to invest my money. Or my close personal friends that I go to the pub with may not be the best people to listen to when it comes to how I should run my business. You'll start to realize that it's okay for them to give advice, but it's not okay for you to listen or have it influence your actions. And so if you want to take on advice, seek out people who have actually achieved the things you want to achieve. If you want financial advice, find it from people who have done the thing you want to achieve in terms of your financial goals. If you want business advice, seek out people who have done the things you want to achieve in terms of your business and listen to those people. Rule number 2 is create artificial financial scarcity. This is probably the number one thing that I've done over the last 2 to 4 years that has had the biggest impact on my personal wealth. Now, the way that this works is it's just do things in a way that make you feel as though your position is worse off than it actually is. Now, for me, all that means is I move things out of my spending account. If I had all of my money available to me in my spending account, then my behavior would be dramatically different. But on a day-to-day basis, when I go buy groceries, when I'm looking online for things, when I'm just choosing how to spend my money in my business, and I look at my business spending and my personal spending, I feel broke. Even though that is so far from reality, the subconscious feeling when I look at those accounts is I feel broke. And that's an incredibly powerful way to influence both your decision making that's going to help you keep more of your money, but also your motivation towards making more money. Because both those things need to be working together in order to skyrocket your wealth. You need to be making more money and then putting more of that money aside. Now, an easy way to do this is if you've got your spending accounts, you've probably also got savings accounts, you've also got tax accounts, you've also got investment accounts. And so making sure as your money comes in, everything is sent out before you even get a chance to choose to keep it. And so for me, a good chunk of my money immediately goes to the tax man. And that account is in a completely separate bank account that I don't see. And so when it comes to tax time, all I have to do is go to that account that I haven't looked at all year and take the money and pay the tax man, as opposed to having it psychologically influence my decision making. Or another example is I invest a massive percentage of my income every single week and every single month. So each month when I track my income versus expenses, I take a huge percentage of that money and invest it into index funds, into my mortgage, a little bit into crypto. Definitely not financial advice, but I take that money and move it into those investments because as far as I'm concerned psychologically, as soon as that money is invested, even though it is still mine, it is no longer mine. The money in my mortgage that is building equity in my property is no longer mine, it's in the property. The money that I put into index funds is no longer mine, it's in index funds. And so that has an influence on my spending. If I was able to see in a spending account my entire net worth, I would behave incredibly differently to the way that I behave now, because every single time I open my bank account to buy something, I feel broke. And I think this is such an easy way to influence your behavior in a positive way, even though it's a negative feeling that creates it. The other way that I create artificial financial scarcity, and this one's going to be a lot more controversial, and I'm definitely not recommending this for everyone, but I regularly try to touch my future. And so doing things or spending money to create a reward system for the work that I've accomplished that may be a little bit more stupid, going on a holiday that might be a little bit more expensive, buying something that I can definitely afford but might be a little bit more of a stupid purchase, can both create a little bit more financial urgency in regards to the negative effects of overspending, but it can also create that desire to reach that future quicker. And so going on those holidays, flying business class, spending a little bit more money than I probably should, can create the environment where I feel both simultaneously stressed and in need of making more money, but also at the very same time, it can create that desire to reach that future a lot quicker. And so the first part, I would definitely recommend create financial urgency by separating your money, keeping it off your spending account. But the second part of this is touch your future occasionally. I've time and time again noticed that when I make the investment, when I spend the money, when I hire an employee that I probably can't afford, when I lived in an apartment that I probably couldn't afford, when I bought this property that I probably couldn't afford, it's always created a positive result because it's forced me to grow. And when you put yourself in a position where you are forced to grow, you will grow. There's a reason why they say necessity is the mother of invention. If you need it to happen, you will make it happen. Rule number 3 is to say no to most things and do less extremely well. One of the biggest lessons I learned a couple of years ago that has had a tremendous impact on pretty much every aspect of my life, both personally and professionally, is focus. I used to have this opinion of focus that productivity and focus were kind of two sides of the same coin, that productivity is squeezing more into your day and so is focus. Focus is just being more intentional with those hours that you're trying to squeeze more into. And it was only probably 3 years ago now where I truly for the first time discovered that focus isn't about doing more, it's about doing less really, really well. And so the most productive people are almost never the ones that are task switching a million times a day and have a calendar booked out from sunrise to sunset, 7 days a week, 365 days of the year. The most productive people are the ones who have actually chosen to suck at most areas of their life while they focused on 1 or 2 key things that they are actually trying to move the needle on. Because most people are spread far too thin. Most people jump at every single opportunity that comes their way, and most people are broke. If you can learn to identify the things that are actually going to move the needle for you, and then you can also simultaneously learn to say no, you will become a powerhouse. Because most people don't do that. Most people are spread thin across half a dozen different things that they're all trying to maintain at the same time that are all completely antagonistic to one another. If you can be the person who just does one thing extraordinarily well, you will make far more progress than anyone who's trying to juggle half a dozen different plates. Rule number 4, regular extreme physical challenge. This one's such a cliche. Every fucking bloke, white dude on Instagram and YouTube is telling you that you should get fit because it's going to change your life. But I've always been hyper focused on health and fitness. It's just always been a tremendous part of my life. But then in the past few years, as my life has started to change, as I've found more success, I've really started to recognize where that's come into play and where that discipline, where that strength, where that fitness, where that focus area of my life has started to have an impact on my business. And for me, I'm obsessed with endurance sport. I race Ironmans, triathlons, ultramarathons, marathons, all that sort of stuff. I love that world. And one of the things that world teaches you is how to do stuff you don't want to do. And I think one thing that comes up over and over again in terms of business is that the person who can endure the most of what they don't want to do will always win. It's the person who can get up every single day and do the tasks that are boring and repetitive and just need to be done regardless of how well they're done. It's always those people that are going to win. And in endurance sport, that's basically the bare minimum to succeed. No one enjoys all of their training. I absolutely love the sport of triathlon and I fucking hate the training 85% of the time. There is 5% of the training where it's exceptional. It's incredible. I love every second of it. The weather is amazing. I feel amazing. My body feels amazing. My bike, my running, my swimming, everything feels amazing. I love 5% of it. But 85% of the time, I fucking hate it and I force myself to do it. And I think business is about as close to that as I can possibly describe. I love what I do. I love the fulfillment it gives me. I love the freedom, the flexibility. I love the clients I work with. I love the results I create for my students. I love making these videos. But 85% of the time, I fucking hate it. And I have to force myself to do it. And that's just reality. If you want to achieve phenomenal things, there is going to be more things that you don't want to do than things you want to do. And that's just the bare minimum to succeed. And I think people who regularly put themselves into physical challenges where they don't know they're going to be able to complete something have an unfair advantage because their idea of difficult is vastly different to the majority. See, difficulty is subjective. One person's idea of the most difficult thing they've ever done in their life is exactly the same as the idea of my most difficult thing that I've ever done in my life. The only difference is my most difficult thing I've ever done in my life is an ultramarathon or an Ironman or just some extreme crazy endurance event. And so having that in my back pocket, having the ability to say that my most difficult thing or my definition of difficult is extremely fucking difficult is a giant unfair advantage. And so creating situations where you put yourself into extreme physical challenge, I think will only give you an unfair advantage, not only in life, but in business. Rule number 5 is if you want to grow it, you need to track it. I track my cash flow every single morning. Every single morning I have a spreadsheet that auto-populates with today's date. It has all of my bank accounts, my business accounts, my personal accounts, my investment accounts, my brokerage accounts, my mortgage, every single thing that I have money in. I have a cell for each of those items. And every single morning I open all of my bank accounts, I open all my investment accounts, I open my mortgage account, I open everything and I tally down those numbers so I have an idea of exactly how much money I have today. And I have every single day previous and I will continue doing that every single day. And the reason for doing that is because by seeing that number every single day, not only does it make me more conscious of my spending throughout the days, because if I have a massive drop one day to the next, I'm not surprised by seeing that in my bank account. I never open my bank account and go, I wonder where my money went, because I know exactly where it went. I know exactly what every dollar is doing. And that might seem extreme, but that has allowed me to grow my net worth. I track my net worth every single month. The first of every single month. It's the 29th today. In 2 days' time, I will go through and track my net worth for January. And I have done that for the last 2 years straight. Every single month for the last 2 years, I've tracked my net worth. I track all of my workouts weekly. Every single Sunday, I sit down and I plan out every single workout, and then I adjust throughout the week to make sure I'm hitting all of my workouts. And I track my content, my calls to action, and my performance metrics every single week for my business. And so if you want something to grow, it needs to be in your face. If you have no idea how you're performing, there's no way you could possibly know how to grow that thing. And so if you want something to grow, an easy way that you can start to make sure that's going to happen is to start tracking it. If you want to grow your audience, start tracking your insights and start tracking your outputs. If you want to grow your income, start tracking your income every single week and every single month. If you want to start growing your net worth and your wealth, start tracking your cash flow every single day and your net worth every single month. People will call you crazy. People will think it's excessive, but most people don't grow the aspects of their life that they want to grow. Most people are broke. Most people have failing businesses. Most people are out of shape. And so if you want to be an outlier, you need to do outlier things, and that will include maniacally tracking every part of your life. Rule number 6 is that all marketing is designed to make you feel out of time, undereducated, and in need. Something I learned in the last 2 years is that every single marketer, if they're doing their job well, should make you feel as though you need what they are selling. And that is their job to do it. If they're doing a good job, they are doing that. And that goes for the groceries you buy all the way to the business coach you invest in. They are all trying to make you feel out of time, undereducated, and in need of what they're selling. And if you can know that going in, it'll make you more conscious with how you interact with everything that's put in front of you. A personal story that I went through in the last 2 years, which is a good example and honestly why I started living by this, is that I had built my business to a certain point. I hit my first 100K month in June of 2023. So about a year and a half ago now. And in that moment, I remember looking around and thinking that I needed a business coach. I was like, you know what? I've hit this milestone. I'm ready to go to the next place. I need a business coach. And as soon as I started looking around, as soon as I started consuming the content of other business coaches, I immediately started to second guess everything that I'd learned that had gotten me to where I was in that moment. Even though I had successfully grown my business from 0 to 100K per month and I was on track to do my first 7-figure year, I was looking at business coaches and social media gurus and people online making $30,000, $20,000, $10,000 a month. And for some reason, thinking that their business model was better than mine and I needed to learn from them, even though their results were less than what I had already achieved myself. And by learning from these people and by listening to their marketing and by being stuck in their funnels, I got dragged into a 12-month period where I shifted and changed my business model multiple times because I thought that's what I needed based on the marketing that these people were publishing. And it was only once I started to really think to myself, hold on, I've achieved what these people probably aim to achieve. Why am I being manipulated by what they're publishing? It was in that moment where I was like, oh, right, this is their entire job. The whole reason I feel this way is because that's how marketing works. Them making me feel this way is making me feel like I need to invest in their business. And as a result, I want to invest in their business. And so understanding this, being conscious of this, should help you go in with a sobered perspective to every single situation where you can spend money. Every opportunity to invest, every opportunity to learn, every opportunity to buy will now be from the perspective of this marketing. Everything that I've already done in this situation is designed to make me feel like I need what they are selling. But that's not true. You don't need it. You're not out of time. You're not in need. You're not undereducated. You can make a decision based on reality, not the way that their marketing makes you feel. Rule number 7 is that the most important thing on your to-do list is also the least likely to get done. See, all of us have a series of things each day that we need to do if we want to move the needle towards our goals. If we were to rank those things on a quadrant, from important to not important and from urgent to not urgent, the things that are most important to us, the things that are truly going to move the needle, are also the least urgent on our list. And so there is a mountain of things that we are given each and every day, a mountain of people to see, meetings to go to, things to sign off on, things to read, things to consume. There is a mountain of stuff that is always more urgent than your most important thing. And for years, I understood this quadrant. For years, I was like, oh yeah, I get it. I get the whole idea of like urgent and not important and prioritizing certain things and all that sort of stuff. But it wasn't until I really understood, it wasn't until I had this same thing, which was starting this YouTube channel. on my to-do list for months on end without me taking action on it, that I began to realize that if I just look at my to-do list and I look at the thing that is least likely to get done on any given day, that is usually the most important thing for me to do. And so if I just base my actions each day on the thing that is least urgent, on the thing that no one is expecting me to do, only I want to do, if I base my actions on getting that crucially important thing done, then I will make far more progress than by focusing on all the urgent things on my to-do list that are completely unimportant long-term. And so understanding that line, having that written down somewhere, I literally have it written on my desktop in my to-do list software. The most important thing is also the least likely to get done, to motivate me each day to go, no, don't get sucked into doing the urgent work. Don't get sucked into doing the shit that's not going to move the needle and not going to make a difference. Do the thing that is least likely to happen and do that every single day and make a habit of doing the thing that is least likely to happen, and you will make far more progress. Honestly, if you ignore the rest of this video, if you only pay attention to one of these rules, pay attention to this one and write it down somewhere. The most important thing for you to do is also the least likely to get done. Rule number 8 is to celebrate wins. If you're anything like me, if you're an ambitious person, you have this constant desire for more. We have a horrible habit as ambitious people of never living with our feet on the ground, never actually being aware of where we are now. And I think that can lead to enormous amounts of stress, enormous amounts of anxiety, and just a completely unfulfilling life pursuing something that at one point was our dream of pursuing. It's kind of the curse of ambition is that you will be constantly chasing and never arriving. And so an easy way to make sure that doesn't happen is to make a habit of celebrating wins. I made the decision in 2023 when things really started to change that I would celebrate wins almost to a fault. And so when I had my first big month, I went out for a crazy dinner that I probably couldn't afford. I remember when I had my first $100,000 month, I bought a brand new Breitling. It was like a $12,000 watch. 10% of my income for the month, which is fucking stupid. I went out and bought that watch, and it's still one of the best things I've ever done because every single time I open the box and I put on that watch, I think about that month. I think about how good that felt to break through a milestone that I never saw as possible for myself. Even this watch that I'm wearing right now, this Date Just 41, I bought this to celebrate my first $1 million year. And so I've created a habit of whenever I reach milestones, whenever I accomplish things, I'll book a holiday or go out for a nice dinner or buy myself something nice or even buy someone else something nice. And so continuously allowing yourself to celebrate wins, not only will it help you live more of the life that you're accomplishing and help you enjoy the journey along the way, because that's crucially important. Because I can promise you more than anything, and I know fucking every person who's ever made any money says this same thing, but it's probably evidence that it's true. But getting to the other side of your goals, I desperately wanted to do what I'm doing now. Like I said in the beginning of this video, the life that I'm living now is a perfect representation of what I would have described as my dream life. I've accomplished things that I only ever dreamt of accomplishing 5, 10, 15 years ago. And I promise you it's not going to solve all your problems. It'll solve the problems you had in those moments, but they'll just be replaced by bigger and more difficult problems to solve. And so always chasing that finish line is only going to leave you deeply unhappy when you get there and realize that there is nothing for you there. I'm not trying to dissuade you from pursuing this, but I'm trying to tell you to enjoy the journey along the way. Create milestones, checkpoints, things that you can enjoy on the way to accomplishing your biggest goals. And the better part of this is if you truly start to actually reward your success, if you start to celebrate your wins, you'll start to associate the hard work with some of the things that you get to do. I didn't want to make these videos today. I'm recording a bunch of these videos on the same day. And every single time I look down and look at this watch, I remember all of the work that I did to get here, but I simultaneously remember the version of me that couldn't possibly comprehend wearing something like this, living in the house that I live in, doing what I do for work on a fucking Wednesday at 2 p.m. And so celebrate your wins as much as possible. Rule number 9 is to go all in. One of the biggest lies that has led more people to failure than anything else is that the average millionaire has 7 income streams. I have half a dozen income streams, probably 5 or 6 income streams. But you know what most of them are? My equity going to work for me in investments, in property, in other businesses. My income that I've built in my one thing has then been used as equity to grow other assets. And so it is a fucking lie that the average millionaire has 7 income streams. They had one income stream, and then they used the profits from that income stream to continue to grow their wealth in 6 other income streams. And so no one has ever gotten rich spreading themselves across half a dozen different opportunities. Everyone gets rich by finding one thing that works and then going all in on that one thing. If you find something that works, if you discover an opportunity, go all in. Forget everything else and focus on making that one thing as profitable and lucrative as you possibly can. Rule number 10 is to build your wealth, not your ego. You earn to get rich, but you invest to get wealthy. So if you don't have a wealth building system, you'll be cursed to earn for the rest of your life. Don't be one of these broke entrepreneurs that's exceptional at making money but terrible at keeping it. Build a system that over enough time and with enough hard work, you can step away. Because that's what we're all working for, right? We're all working for the freedom to choose. All of us started out as entrepreneurs because we couldn't possibly comprehend a life where we were working for someone else, right? That's why all of us started. I don't know about you, but that's why I started. I started because I fucking hated my work and I couldn't possibly comprehend another 50 years of doing that to then someday retire. And so I decided that even if I had to earn every single one of my own dollars, I would have a better time doing that than working for someone else. And so my goal was never an amount of money. My goal was never a particular car. My goal was never a particular house or a particular watch or a particular lifestyle. My goal was always freedom. But along the way, you get caught up in certain things and certain ways of spending your money, and certain lifestyles appeal to you more now because you've got a little bit of money to spend, but don't lose sight of the goal, which was always freedom. So many entrepreneurs that I know personally, that I've heard stories about, are exceptional at making money and fucking terrible at keeping it. And so build a system that you can do consistently alongside building your business that with enough time and enough money will give you the freedom to fully step away. And even if you don't want to step away, even if you get to the point where you don't have to work anymore and you choose to work, that's fine. But at least having that choice will have a tremendous impact on your life, because that's what we're after at the end of the day. And so as much as you possibly can, put your money aside, build your wealth, and turn that into an asset that can one day give you the freedom to choose whether or not you want to work at all. And rule number 11, rest is not a luxury, it's a necessity. Athletes use recovery to absorb their training, and I think entrepreneurs need to use rest to absorb their progress. It is absolutely essential that you have some kind of recovery built into your business. A lot of us ambitious types are so fixated on growth that anything that isn't literally moving the needle forward feels like a waste of our time, without realizing that your performance has a massive influence on your progress. If you feel your best and you're performing at your best and you're your healthiest, you are always going to make more progress over a shorter period of time. And so the goal should never be to just work the most, no exceptions. The goal should be to be most effective with the time that you work. And the way that you become most effective is by creating the environment where you feel and perform your best. And that is going to require recovery. The same way that an athlete can't smash the track 7 days a week, 365 days of the year without injury, an entrepreneur can't smash 12 to 14 hour days, 7 days a week, 365 days of the year without getting completely burnt out or being so ineffective that they might as well not be working at all. Because that's a reality that we all know. We all know when we've been working too much and we're just forcing ourselves to be at work and not even fucking doing anything. We might as well not work at all in that moment because we are so burnt out, so fucking tired, so far beneath our optimum performance state that we might as well not be working at all. And so create an environment with adequate rest, adequate recovery, adequate time to do the things that you want to do that recharge you, that you perform your best, and then be efficient when you do work. One of the things that I'm most proud of over the last 12 years is that I am genuinely working less today than I ever have and achieving more. And that's not down to me having a bigger team or me having a business that supports itself. That's down to me making the decision to do everything I can to put myself in the position where I feel and I'm performing my best. So the time that I do work is infinitely more effective than it's ever been in my career. And so focusing on rest, focusing on recovery as equally important parts of your business as when you're actively working will only help you perform so much better than most. And wouldn't you prefer to be the kind of entrepreneur that in terms of effectiveness can get a 12-hour workday done in 3? Because it is possible. It's not linear. Someone who's 2 times more effective doesn't get 2 times more results. Someone who's 2 times more effective might get 10 times or 20 times the results of someone who's only 1 times as effective. And so focusing on how you can make yourself as effective as possible, whether that be the habits you spend your time doing, the things you do in your spare time that make you feel incredible and recharge you, or just the way that you recover, scheduling holidays into your year in advance so you have adequate time to actually be recovered when you're working, making sure you know if you have a big sprint period of time, a big period of intense work, it needs to be followed by a period of recovery or you're just going to end up burnt out and ineffective. And so rest isn't just a luxury, it's a necessity. I hope this video helps, and I'll see you on the next one.